It is 7:07. We're going to call this meeting to order of the Parks and Rec Committee. We have a few items to discuss. It's a sort of a brief meeting. To everyone that hasn't heard, the pool has closed this year due to a electric motor failure. Correct, Scott?
Yes. So a pool update. So the pool has been a challenge, and I got to just start out by saying I can't thank Leslie and Matt Yanger enough for all the work that they have put into that pool. They put their heart and souls into it. And I will tell you, as a team effort, even Mr. Riley Sr., who used to be an employee who's retired, even has a hand in that as far as helping out with different pieces.
Nice.
So
awesome.
I just feel it's important to make sure we, thank everyone for their efforts. So just a quick overview. We concreted and expanded the deck all the way around. Mm-hmm. We added some fencing. We did some repairs in the pool. We did some repairs inside the main area, the showers and all that. We did some improvements for COVID. We had very, very, very generous donors. The Baird Foundation, thank you again. They gave us money to get our point of sale system and storage. And then Rocky gave us money to get our pump rebuilt. So it was quite the feat to get open. We are now in the process of shutting it down. The electric motor that operates the pump is what died. So we're looking at several options, going forward, pump versus motor and new motor. Because if just to refresh everybody's memory, a new pump was the same price as the rebuild. The only reason why we went with rebuild is because we could get it done in 3 weeks instead of, I think it was 8 to 9 weeks or something like that. I have it written down in my email how far out it was. So that's why we went to rebuild. Ideally, we would have went with a new one because our old one, the parts are scarce and they're getting harder to find because it's the original pump to the pool. It's been rebuilt numerous times and parts are just getting harder and harder to find. So that brings us up to today. We're shutting it down. Going to be draining it soon, putting all the stuff away, and we had I'm forgetting so many people that helped to get us out of bailed us out, if you will. You came out and fixed our freezer. Travis Powell did our painting, and so some of our equipment's going to go back to Travis for the winter. So he's going to do some more work for us at his leisure for next year.
I think Gary Edwards gave a refrigerator.
Yes.
Too, when something broke down.
He absolutely did. There was Pidcock Glass donated the plexiglass for COVID. I mean, it was a really inspiring event. All the people in the community rallied to get it open. And it was very heartbreaking when it died yet again. So, but it was better than nothing. Despite 2020 being what 2020 has been so far, pretty happy with getting a little over 5 weeks out of it. So as we push forward for the pool and shut it down, I know we have upcoming repairs. I don't have a dollar amount to present to you yet, but I will get that to you as soon as we can. Some of our employees are going to be able to do some of the repairs, Steve and a few others, so we'll get that to you. That's really all I have right now on the pool. If I could change gears to Poly Field.
Okay.
So Poly Field, I don't know if anybody's been down there recently, but we've set all the new light poles. We have all the lights up. There's 3 new cameras down there. The lights, they're going to work. They'll be at either 50 or 80%. It hasn't been set yet, likely 50% power. And then if there's motion, it lights up to 100, which would be nice. We're going to get Wi-Fi over there very shortly. As soon as Wi-Fi is over there, they'll be able to fine-tune the cameras, and then we'll be fully up and running. That's all part of the neighborhood revitalization grant, and that's the one that did the new sidewalks down Chestnut, and then also Harper, and a few other places. So to finish wrapping that up, in addition to Poly Field, there's going to be some paving that gets completed later this week and first part of next week over on sections of Harper, sections at the end of Walnut where it's real bad down there, and just basically using up the rest of the grant for just doing little paving jobs here and there within the scope of the work being accomplished. So all of that is moving along very well. The fence, So come back up to the park next to the pool. The fence, we have the quotes as you guys, as council tasked me to do several weeks ago. And we just haven't purchased it because we don't have time to put it in yet. The money's there, it's roughly $2,000. That does not include the gate work that Mr. Smith wanted put in to enable folks from the train to access our snack bar. So we need to add that into the quote before we purchase, but we'll be able to do that over the winter as well. I do want to get that fence repaired as soon as possible. However, we've had a series, I'm not sure if you've been tuned into the utility meeting, we've had a series of very significant leaks that required higher prioritization along with the sewer project on the other end of town. So with all that, what I would like to do is start working toward a plan for Poly Field. Unfortunately, our technology is not fully up, but for Poly Field, there's the back road clear to the very end, if that rings a bell to everybody, that is
Usually mud.
which is mud running central.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, the cameras are going to help with a lot of that, but one of the things I was thinking is potentially just removing that. There's a little wire, or not little, but there's a cable with a post down there at the end, possibly removing that and extending and making that all green space instead of a road across the back down there.
Closed off, yeah.
I would like to put a gate in, maybe even use the gates that are there and block off from, so if you go into the park, you have your parking area and then parking area by the head of the football field. And then when you get to that first baseball field, it goes down to single lane, blocking it right there.
Yep.
That way everybody upstream can park and there's plenty of places to park, but it just blocks vehicles from getting to that other end down there and tearing things up. We could open that back up. A suggestion was to make that so we could open it up, maybe have PD do it during games, but only allow handicap parking down that way for folks to
Right.
get closer, and then everybody
Sounds
else
good.
can park upstream.
Yep.
Great idea.
Yep.
Grandparents, older people who
Yep.
coming to see, you know, a T.
Absolutely.
Usually it's like T-ball.
All the
and
way
then
down
on
at
the
the
way
bottom.
in, and so you tend to get more grandparents.
And
stuff
it's-
like that.
And it's
So,
always been dangerous for years.
Yeah.
Cars taking off and kids and in between games and having to walk, it was always,
Yeah.
slow down. That'll eliminate that. That's a good idea.
So far, everything I believe that I've talked about is no expense. Well, when I say no expense, it's not no expense, it's labor. I would like to put it on our radar for winter projects when things slow down. The other thing I would like to do down there is use some of our so we have some used guardrail out back that has been donated to us. I'd like to use some guardrail. And so if you go down in your picture, you look to the right, there's a piece of chain link that goes from the flood wall. We'll call it a flood wall to that first building. And then there's a small gap between the two buildings. And then from that last building all the way around the first part of the football field, that's all open. I would like to put guardrail through there to stop people from driving their cars out there on the asphalt driving around the football field. You'd still be able to walk in between it. I don't like the idea of cables because they're hard to see. I think they're a liability. A guardrail's pretty significant.
And also will allow the waters, when the waters come up, it'll
yeah,
allow them to
exactly.
go through.
It's versus
Absolutely.
mud getting stuck in the chain link fence. It
It was always a disaster.
go through.
Yep.
Yeah, so those are just some ideas that folks have brought. It's been a group effort thinking up ways to secure Poly, make it a little bit better. And we still got some other things on the radar.
Do we have a fence post there?
We do. We have a 3-point tractor auger.
I have one too.
Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Congratulations.
And I think I know the answer to this, but the shelter house at that far end
Mhm.
is cleared out. There's no picnic tables or anything in there. But there's a whole bunch of picnic tables up by the basketball courts and the old pool. And I'm guessing that those are from that shelter house.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, A, what are we doing with those before winter sets in and they get snowed and rained on and all of that and potentially ruined? And then I also noticed that I think there's only 3 picnic tables, and maybe we did this for social distancing, I don't know, at the pool shelter house. And they don't match, like they're different heights and different.
Sure.
So, and I know that when the pool was done, I think that was a Rotary project, and that they got specific picnic tables for that area. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, what's up with all those picnic tables?
So I can't speak for the one next to the pool because I haven't really looked into it.
Okay.
The ones down at Pauley. So typically, if you go into Pauley, and if you look off to the left, there's that higher flat spot past that shelter house that's right there at the front of the park. That's where all of our picnic tables were stored over last winter. They're all stacked up. It really wasn't a problem. So then when the grass mowed, we moved them over to where they're at now. And it's been constant destruction by, it's just been constant destruction. So we want to get those cleaned up and moved out of there. We have talked about a couple different options as far as where to put them, where to store them. Do we bring them up here? Do we chain them together? You know, if bringing them up here, we don't really have any covered storage to keep them out of the elements here. And so we're still coming up with somewhere to put that because we're sick and tired of watching them getting destroyed. One thing I do want to point out that the shelter house, you know, that front one, it's pretty awesome how much people use that shelter house. So with that, you know, maybe something in the future would look to expand that shelter house. And then also to, if we get new playground equipment, which if I recall correctly, right when I was coming in as Turner, I haven't found an email per se. I've looked, but do you guys know, do we have money to spend on, I didn't see anything in the budget, but I thought I remember something about buying playground equipment for down there.
Wasn't there a green
There
group?
was a young girl that was making a project
For a playground.
Girl Scouts or some organization to try and raise money for.
And didn't we have something through the green spec? What was that girl's name that used to come?
Okay, she was from, I think, she was from the health department.
Health department.
So
Yeah.
like Comfort or something?
It was a grant to
Yeah.
put a public playground in down there.
Yeah.
But that's before COVID started.
Right. No playground.
So, I mean, you know, that's one of
Well, I
those
think
things.
Becky would know who she was.
Becky wouldn't know who she was, or I could fire out an email to maybe Chuck and get that name. So, and if I look back, we probably got the emails. I'll look through and see if I can find it and send it to you, Scott.
Well, one of the things I'd like to do is once we, you know, acquire or we're able to move forward with equipment, is if we put it on that spot up on the hill just past that front shelter house there, you know, it rarely gets floodwater up there. So it would take care of our equipment a lot better. It's just nicer up front there. The grass is nicer and everything else.
Have the police been patrolling that?
Yes.
Good.
I would like to even add more guardrail, possibly going down Railroad Street. Several times little kids will run off, you know, and then just something to slow them down before they're in the middle of the road down there, or maybe even on both sides. So I know guardrail's not a fence. I just like it because to me it's sturdier than a fence. It doesn't, you don't have to worry about it with the flood, and just trying to keep, people can't tear it up as easy.
Use what we have.
Right.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, baseball season next year. Hopefully we get them.
Yeah.
We also have batting cages
We do.
that we were talking about putting up on that hill
Okay.
and leaving them up on that hill and then just taking,
The netting down.
well, I don't know if the netting, but we definitely take the equipment inside the house, but it's because they were always on the
Backside.
that
And it got
asphalt area.
flooded. Yep.
And they left the netting up, which was fine until it flooded. Again, that won't flood up that high.
They could be
So
more
you could
stable.
almost leave that netting up, and then just set up the pitch machine.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm sure kids would like to use that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just really like, I'm excited to see where Polly's going. You know, it's starting to get a lot of, we still have the use that we don't like, but as soon as those cameras come on, I think that,
That will change.
I think that will change.
That will
Yes.
definitely
That and lighting.
And
That
the lighting.
lighting. Yep. Yeah. When it gets lit up, it's amazing.
So where do the video cameras that'll be there, where does that feed go?
So I had some thoughts on that, and some people have made some really good points. The first thought I have was a live feed on our website, so everybody could see. And then somebody made a comment about adults watching it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And so that makes sense to me. So, you know, the system they're using, you can access through an app. So at a bare minimum, it would be accessible to all PD. I will definitely have access to it.
Mhm.
And then I'm certainly open. The more eyes that are on it, watching it, to, because unless you're sitting there staring at it, we get really boring really quick.
There's a bird.
Yeah. Oh.
So I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe that might be part of our hogging arrangement. Maybe while they're over there dispatching, maybe they have it up on a screen.
Maybe.
Just
It's
thought.
actually not a bad idea to, no, that's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, if that's not a recorded loop, then, you can always go back and.
Go back if there's damage and you go back and see it.
Right.
Right.
So, yeah, so there was something, just brain dumped it. Well, moving on. So that's it for Polly. That's
Okay.
it for up by the pool and the pool itself. Is there anything for me?
I think you've pretty much answered all my questions. Justin, do you have anything?
I'm good for now.
Elizabeth,
I don't think so. I think
that was a very nice report. Thank
Yeah.
you for being very thorough as normal. So, definitely let us know on the cameras and stuff when that goes on and up. So
Oh yeah, we play that up. Make sure everybody knows about
make sure everybody
Yes,
knows there's
yes,
cameras
well.
because it is
all
been a
that
destructive
stuff.
place for years and it's time for it to stop.
If they can feel safe being down there with their kids.
Exactly.
That'll go a long way.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
I think it might be worthwhile when the cameras do go live, whatever, to have a sign at the entrance
Mhm.
that says, this area is
Yep,
monitored
absolutely.
by
Video
by
camera,
video cameras. So it's both a
it's a warning.
warning and a education
Mess
for
around and
people,
find out.
so that
That will stop a lot. A sign
right,
stops a lot.
just
Sure
like-
does.
I'm not saying that people are intentionally doing nefarious things, but just that it would let them know that, hey, you're
Hopefully
You're being
it'll be
watched.
deterrent.
Hopefully,
Yes.
yeah, a deterrent and stop anything. So
So remember what it was I was going to ask about for Polly Field.
go ahead.
With all the folks that use that shelter house on the weekends it's great. You see birthday parties down there, you see all sorts of different events. What made me think of it was one morning I went out there really early in the morning and this person was just sitting in the shelter house for hours and hours and hours. Basically, they were saving it until their party got there. How does council feel about being able to pay a small fee, 10, 20 bucks, whatever it is, to actually reserve that? That way they have rights to that for parties.
I don't have
and
a
such.
problem with that. I mean, as long as it's
You used to be able to
reserve it, didn't you?
reserve it. Not that one. I know the one you're talking about. You're talking about the newer one that's at the front.
Right.
But I know for a fact that you used to be able to
Do the real
pay a
one.
fee and
Yeah.
reserve the one in the back and the one at the pool. I think when it first opened,
Yes.
because I know when I was a kid, so a long time ago, we would have
How
family
long?
reunions. Well, 25 years at the back. So I know that you could reserve it, but I think that would be great. And I think, like you said, a $25 fee isn't
In a small agreement.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, that you
To pick up your
pick up your
trash.
trash,
That's it.
etc.
I'm not opposed to it. Who would manage the process? That's another process for someone to run.
Right, it would be something as simple as getting a permit through the front office, just like any other permits that we issue. And for me, I don't foresee it being an issue if it's managed on a calendar, The question is, do we want to do 4-hour blocks, 8-hour blocks,
I'd say 4 would be sufficient, wouldn't you?
4.
I'd say 3 to 4.
Yeah, I mean, most
think
birthday parties don't
3, yeah,
go
good goodness, I don't
for
know.
hours.
So, we could do blocks of, 12 to 4 and then 4 to 8,
8,
Sure.
yeah.
and just set those as the
Well, I think
standard.
you have to have a set time.
They could reserve it for 4. So I might want it from 10 to 2.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
somebody else could,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, if it's available, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after that, yeah.
So the last thing I had, and this has been a hot topic, just a refresher. When is the park closed?
Dusk.
Dusk. But let's
Right?
say, let's go with a time. I get it. Because
Then why do we light up
dusk has got a
Like dusk.
dusk has got a description of a lot of ways. So I would honestly say in the summertime, no later than 10. I mean, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
I remember as a teenager, we'd play basketball until 10 o'clock. Yeah, that was no big deal. So.
Right. I know. I get it. But I would say, we'll have to discuss that, of course, around
Yeah, I
council.
think
But
we have to
I
think about
would
that.
say that, dark, 9 o'clock to the summertime. I think 9 o'clock.
Well, like Scott was saying, though, why'd you put up lights in the basketball court then?
True. But,
If you make a, I'm sorry.
Security as well.
but,
Well, that too.
Yeah.
but also that means you shouldn't be on the football fields and stuff like that. That the basketball court could be a little different because we have lights there for a reason.
Right, and I think that's a good point you're making, Tony, though, is that people need to understand that even though there are lights there around Poly Poly
You're not
Field,
supposed to be on the field.
that doesn't mean that you can go play flag football there at
In the middle of
11
the
o'clock at night, because the lights are gonna come on.
Yeah.
That the park still closes.
Right.
And maybe it's like what you're saying is the bed will be in the back though, and have a gate, but yeah.
Well, so 10 o'clock in the summertime and 6 o'clock in the wintertime.
Yep.
It gets
I
dark.
was
Yeah, it
thinking the
gets
same
dark.
thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah.
And 10 would be more than enough time
Oh,
for
wow.
someone to go, oh, it's dark. And, sometimes they like to play a little basketball when it's hoop, it's a little getting
Yeah, it was cool.
But then
Did
they're
you
all
guys
like done.
play softball?
Many years ago, yes.
Yeah, right?
They were younger. Yes.
Because I remember, I think only one baseball field or baseball softball field down there has lights, right?
There's only
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's gonna be lit up now.
Okay. But I think that's different if we have rec league
Or
baseball
a
next
tournament
summer
going on.
or something
sure,
going
yeah.
There's
on.
always exceptions for
And
that.
we are playing on lighted fields. That's a very different situation than just a general use.
We don't need stragglers down there.
So
at
that
11
like
o'clock
if
at
the
night.
police are patrolling, they can
Well,
run
that's
people
exactly-
off
Right.
That's
and say
exactly
park's
why,
closed.
I brought it up, because the police are the one
Who asked?
that brought it to my attention, because
Yeah.
it makes it difficult.
Yeah.
To enforce. So, again, what is wintertime, or, because what is summertime? If you did 9 o'clock blanket across the board, then it wouldn't matter, but that's just my suggestion. Even if you did 10 o'clock, I don't think the neighbors will get that upset.
Okay. Well, you gotta watch that neighbor.
Well, right, and I guess what does it mean? What if I live down there and I typically walk my dog in that?
That's a little different.
I know, I'm
get it.
just
That's
saying,
still, though,
right?
you gotta enforce it for everyone.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's why you have the.
I think it's the
light
bigger issue is the people who are down there being rowdy
spitting, cutting
um,
donuts,
or
drinking beer,
sitting in their car,
shooting up.
Or
yeah,
sleeping.
doing nothing, sleeping.
We
Yeah.
have, there's the homeless problem down there.
Yes,
There's a guy that likes to walk on the wall down there.
yeah,
There's comments in here. It's, I don't know, I think certain times would probably, just very definitive guidelines for the police
Okay.
department to enforce it would be preferred.
10 and 6.
Yeah, so Parks and Rec recommend something council.
Yeah, can we think about it?
Yeah, we can think about it.
And then come up
Think
with
about
the
it.
next meeting, because yeah,
Absolutely.
but I think it's also a good point,
It's
like,
definitely a good thought.
when
And
the
it's, and
Yeah.
it's definitely a good idea because that
Yeah.
will stop a lot of damage that has
Yeah, we
occurred.
just put an ordinance in, like Dan said.
And be done.
Yeah.
So then that can be enforced. Okay.
So the last one.
You just said last one on the last.
I know, well, if a message popped up in here. So a message just popped up in here. It was brought up that about a dog park. I will tell you that I don't think Polly's necessarily cut out for it, but I've been looking personally for places to do a dog park. We've looked at dog park grants.
Mhm.
It's been socialized with the planning commission. I don't know that it necessarily falls underneath this committee, but I guess it's just more of an FYI, or to see if there's any opposition to keep looking for a good piece of property that would be nice.
I think it'd be a great idea.
I think it'd be a great idea because that was one of the ongoing battles when we used to coach years ago down there.
Yep.
Is you'd have baseball practice and the next thing you know, you'd have a kid fall in. And it was a mess.
A lot of people do take their dogs down there and run on the football field, and there are some that leave the stuff down there, but
now we'll have cameras and we'll see you,
yes, we will.
Elizabeth's on food patrol.
so
Yes.
listen up.
have no fear. I patrol my property as well, so as
Yeah.
one
So
commenter said
some
on
of
here.
those
Yeah.
properties that we can acquire through the land bank go off in, Patton Street,
So,
because you can't really build on those anymore.
so I've looked at all the ones that we can acquire and the ones that we have acquired. Unfortunately, they're speckled everywhere. They're not lined up together. So there's actually a vacant lot over there with an old horse stable, and I've reached out to the owner, and haven't heard back. You know, they have a really big lot down there that just sits there, and it'd be ideal for it. And because I like that part of town as well, because it's close to Poly. You know, it's not downtown, but it's walking distance everywhere, kind of out of the way a little bit. And you know, at least from my experience, dog parks, you know, attract folks doing the right thing.
Yep.
And people doing the wrong things don't want to be around people doing the right things.
Especially when they have dogs.
Yes. So, but if people have suggestions, please email us, you know, and we can go from there. And that is all I have.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I'm done.
Thank you very much.